Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Christine's Stampin' Spot. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I have a really fun, simple card to share with you today. This card was made using the High Tide stamp set from Stampin' Up! This is an awesome stamp set. You can make both masculine and feminine cards with this stamp set. It has some fantastic, really inspirational sentiments that come with it, and then you get to do one of my favorite techniques, which is two-step stamping. So you can layer two different colors to create this lighthouse. You can create sand, put little grasses over top of the sand if you wanted to. You've got some bird images and of course some water images as well. So this is a really fun stamp set, and it's a relatively low price point in the catalog. So I decided I'm going to skip around in my classes just a little bit, and this stamp set is going to be my next online card class. So I will have a video up later today showcasing that card class, and I will have all the information about that class in that video, so stay tuned for that. But for right now, for this video, I'm just going to show you how it is so easy to put this fun card together. So let's go ahead and get started. I really love the Pool Party in Bermuda Bay color scheme here that I've come up with. So, and as a matter of fact, it was an accident. I dropped some paper and the two happened to land on top of each other. And I thought, oh, that's a really pretty color combination. So that's kind of how this card came about. So the first thing that we're going to do to create this card is we are going to do some stamping of the lighthouse. And let me show you how easy that is to do. The first image that you want to stamp is this one, and you want to do that in the color that you want to mainly be showing. In my case, it's the Bermuda Bay. Then you will stamp this image second in the lighter color. In my case, it's a basic gray. You can do anything for that lighter color. You could do black. It's actually not, I don't want to say lighter color, that's a little misleading. It's the color that's going to blend in and be a little bit lighter on the actual image, the way that the stamp has been created. But it's not necessarily your lightest color in your stamp, in your ink pad stamps, ink pad set, if that makes sense. So in other words, this color, this stamp is going to be your brightest, the color that's going to be showing the most from the lighthouse. And then this image is your more shaded color, your darker color, if you will. But might not show up darker on the card, if that makes sense. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but I think once you start playing with the stamp set, it'll just make sense. But for this one, I recommend for this particular image, doing it in a brown, a light brown, a gray, or even black. And then this one's going to be your color, so a blue, or in this case Bermuda Bay, or a red, something like that. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started with our stamping. I'm going to bring over just a scratch piece of Whisper White cardstock, which is my favorite cardstock for stamping. It really is a wonderful cardstock to get very clear images with any types of stamps that you may be using. Of course, since we're doing two-step stamping, this is a photopolymer stamp set, which simply means that it's a see-through stamp set, and you can see right through where you're stamping, so you get your images lined up really nicely. So again, this is the image that we're going to do in the color we want to really shine through on that lighthouse. So I'm going to bring over my Bermuda Bay, and I'm going to get this image nicely stamped up, inked up rather. There we go. Make sure, turn it over and make sure you have it nicely inked up with your ink. And then we are just going to stamp it down right here. It doesn't really matter, whoops, my stamp doesn't want to stick. There we go. It doesn't really matter where on the cardstock you place it, because we're going to be cutting this out with a stitched oval die in a moment. So we want to apply even pressure to your acrylic block to make sure that a good clean image transfers onto your cardstock, and then lift straight up. And there we go. I'm going to quickly clean this off. I have my Stampin' Scrub off camera here because I'm going to be using the same block again for that second lighthouse image. So we're just going to stick that down to our block. By the way, I'm using the Stampin' Up! H block, and it fits, it works perfectly for this lighthouse image. Now I'm going to bring over the basic gray, and we're going to use that second lighthouse image to get this image nice and inked up. And then we're just going to stamp it right over top of this particular image here. Now, I might get my head in the frame here, so forgive me, but you want to make sure you just look right through the block and look down to where you're stamping. And you just want to line it up as best you can and then stamp it down. Apply even pressure to the block again. Push kind of hard down. These are photopolymer. and then lift straight up. And there you go. Perfect. You don't have to use a stamping tool for this particular stamp set. Now I have my Stamparatus coming to me. It is a stamp tool that is great, and Stampin' Up! Just came out with it very recently. It just became available, and mine should be here tomorrow. And so I will show you in future videos how to use the Stamparatus to get perfect images every time. But as you can see, I wanted to demonstrate today, you can do this and get it nice and lined up just with your acrylic blocks. Now I'm going to take the little sand image here, which if I bring back over the cover of the stamp case is this image right here. And I'm just going to put a little bit of sand at the bottom. Again, we're going to be cutting this out with an oval shape, so it doesn't, most of this isn't going to show, but I just want to have a little bit of sand. And again, you just line this up at the bottom here. The lighthouse fits perfectly in the groove of the stamp. And there you go. There's your sand. There's so many different card designs that you could do with this, and that's why I'm going to be doing an online card class with this. We're going to be creating scenes in the online card class and doing some really fun things. But today we're just going to keep it super simple. I wanted to really show you what this stamp set's all about and how easy it is for the images to layer together. So the next step, now that we have our lighthouse all nice and stamped, is we would cut this out with an oval die. And I am using the stitched, it's actually called the Stitched Shape Framelit Stamp die set rather. You get ovals, circles, and squares, and this is my go-to die set. I love the stitched shapes. So I'm using the largest oval in that set of dies, and I would just cut this out. Now to save time for the purposes of the video, I already went ahead and cut one out that I stamped prior to coming on camera. So that's what that looks like there. So now let's finish putting this card together, and it is so super simple. I will bring over now the rest of the elements needed to complete the card. I used my layering ovals dies to create the scalloped oval behind our stamped panel here, and I cut that out in Bermuda Bay. So that's what this piece is here, and it's the largest scalloped oval that's in the die set. So this will layer right on top of here, like so. Just a little bit of that Bermuda Bay peeking out. I thought that was a nice touch. And then we have our pool party and our Bermuda Bay card base, which measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's a side fold. And we have the pool party to go on top. Then we have this little piece of designer paper, which actually comes, each color family in the catalog has its own designer series paper that you can get, and it's basic paper. It is beautiful, just some stripes and some fun dots, nothing fancy, but it has all the colors. And this is the Brights collection. You can also get it in neutrals, subtles, and your in colors as well. So I just cut a piece of the Bermuda Bay from the Brights stack, and we're going to stick that there. So let's go ahead and I want to plan this out quickly because then I'm going to stamp the birds and the sentiment. So let me go ahead and just sort of roughly place this where I want it to be so I can then plan where I'm going to put my birds. And I'm going to bring the birds over, and they are going to be inked up in the basic gray again. So we're going to grab that back out, and we're going to get the birds nice and inked up. Okay, let me ink them just a little bit better there. Oops. I need to refill re-ink my basic gray ink pad, so sorry I had to ink it a few times there. Okay, so now I just kind of have this roughly placed. I know about where I want my birds, so now I can remove these elements, and then we'll just stamp the birds down right about here. Just apply some even pressure, and there you go. There's our cute little birds. And that actually got a little bit smeared. I rocked the block. So you can see sometimes if you rock the block a little bit, which I did, you almost get a double image. So we're just going to flip this over, and we're going to do it one more time. No big deal. Everybody makes mistakes. There's really no mistake in card making that you can make that you can't fix. So let's do this again. This time I'm going to leave the block still and just apply the pressure without rocking the block, which was the mistake that I made a moment ago. And there you go. Now our birds are absolutely perfect. Once this gets adhered down to our card base, no one will ever know that we made that mistake. Or that I made that mistake. You guys probably won't make that mistake, but I am not the neatest stamper sometimes. So I am always finding ways to correct what I have done that's a mistake. And it's really no big deal. At the end of the day, you will still come out with a really beautiful project. Now I'm going to bring my little lighthouse back over just to place it again, roughly, so I know where I want to put my sentiment. And my sentiment says, in high tide or low tide, I'll be by your side. And I inked that, as you can see on the finished card there, in some Bermuda Bay ink. So I'm going to get my sentiment nice and inked up here, and now I know about where I want to place this, so I'm going to move this element aside again and place the sentiment. Let me straighten my cardstock here, and I'm going to place the sentiment as straight as I can right about there. Apply some even pressure again to the block, and then lift straight up. And there we go. All right, we can close up our Bermuda Bay. We're done with our inking and our stamping. So now it's just a matter of putting the card together. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to adhere our designer series paper to the bottom portion of the card stock, the pool party card stock. So let me go ahead and grab my snail, and we'll just add some adhesive to the bottom of this piece of designer series paper, and we'll stick that right here to the bottom portion of this cardstock. Now we're going to take some, and I love this, it's actually called burlap ribbon, and we're just going to cut it so it goes just a little bit past the edges of this piece of cardstock. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place some snail on the back, on either side of the ribbon, and then we will simply place it down here about where we want it, and then wrap it around the back and stick it down. Now we can go ahead and put adhesive on the back of this panel of cardstock here, and we will go ahead and stick this down as well onto our Bermuda Bay card base, which again is an A2 size card base, so it measures 4.25 by 4.25 by 5.5 when it's folded. And because it's Bermuda Bay, I did go ahead and place some white cardstock inside to write your message on. Okay, so now the last step is to go ahead and adhere our lighthouse to our scallop circle panel. So let's just do that super quick here. There we go. Just a little bit of that Bermuda Bay scallop circle sticking out. Now I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to bring over some Stampin' Dimensionals, and we are going to place these along the back here just to give this a little bit of a pop. Just so it pops up just a little bit to create a little bit of interest on the card. There we go. There's our dimensionals. And now we're just going to stick this, not upside down, on the front of the card here. Like so. Very simple card to do. Then the last step is I took some metallic, these are the silver pearls, and I just added a few of them to the card base here, just for a little bit of added interest. So I put 3 in the upper left corner of the card, like so, and then I put 2 in the bottom right corner of the card down here on the designer paper. And I just thought that added just a little bit of interest. So there you go. There's our really pretty card that we have created. It was quick and simple. Here's the finished card that I made before coming on camera. There's a slight difference. On the one that I made before coming on camera, I put some of that metallic silver thread behind the oval. You can kind of see it there. That's a design choice that I like to make often. I just think it really adds to the card and it just gives it kind of a neat little look. But for the one that I made on camera, I wanted to save time, and so I didn't add that. And as you can see, both are perfectly lovely options. So really whatever you want to do. This is what that metallic silver twine looks like, by the way. It's very inexpensive, and it also comes in a rose color, copper color, and gold. And I use these all the time. But again, for today, I just kept it simple for the camera card that we made on camera. So I hope that you guys liked this card, and I hope that you will get really excited for my online card class using this stamp set. I want to show you a sneak peek of a card I'm going to be doing a video on very soon. Look at this beautiful card. It's obviously a little bit more complicated than the one we made today, but I guarantee you it's super simple. You will be amazed at how quickly this card comes together. And look at it. It looks very artistic and like you spent a long time on it, but I promise you I didn't. So this is another video that's coming, and then we'll have an online card class with completely different cards as well. So thank you guys so much for stopping by and stamping with me today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will be back later today to go over all of the elements that will be in the online card class coming up using this High Tide stamp set. So thanks so much, guys, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.